Hello, welcome to our Ability Skills Knowledge Fraternity. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining and stay with us till the end. Once again, I am Alia Hassan, your host in Ability Skills Knowledge Fraternity. Firstly, I want to say about today's free webinar or session. Today's webinar is workable for those who lose their confidence, didn't trust, and have suspect on self. I hope today's webinar will be effective who are struggling with own personality. Every day some new participant joined with us, so I have to be give little concept about ability, skills, knowledge fraternity. What is Ask Fraternity? Ask Fraternity stands for Ability, Skills, Knowledge Fraternity. It is an online platform which aims to enhance the skills of the youth living across the world. It promotes the talent of the humans and also provide earning platform. Ask Fraternity offers free international webinars, workshops, and paid short courses. Its origin is in Pakistan. It is founded by Dr. Aksar Rabbani and Mr. Zain Khan as a vice president. Ms. Arshia Kainat is working as a CEO and management controller in Ask Fraternity. Our collaborative partner are Go Study, that is Global Education from China, and Right Vision Training Academy Center UK. Motto of Ask Fraternity: creating new leaders by nourishing and promoting the talent of common people is the main purpose of Ask Fraternity. Its slogan is sometimes choosing a different path from other does not mean isolating yourself. It means you know that who are you. I am warmly welcoming in you all. Today we are presenting the webinar on counseling ethics during therapy session with speaker Anuyeni Lawal, which is an psychologist, a motivational speaker. She is from Nigeria. So let's start our program. Please give a warm welcome to Anuyeni Lawal.
Hello everyone. Hello, Ma'am Halia. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello. Hello, ma'am. So happy to be here again. So happy to be able to take today's session. It's a lot of privilege to be here, and I really do not take it for granted at all. I want to say a very big thank you first and foremost to Ability Skill Fraternity for this opportunity. I do not take it for granted, and I'm hoping that today's session will be an amazing one, and I hope that everyone will literally get question. Halia said, Nigeria, yes, a motivational coach for teenagers. That's all I do, and I'm from Nigeria. Thank you for having me. Okay, so today's session, our topic is counseling ethics during therapy session. Counseling ethics during therapy session. So please, can we move to the next slide? Thank you. Next slide, please. So for this session, we're going to be talking about it. This is the topic outline, and um, for this session, we're going to be talking about counseling. We're going to be defining counseling. For me, when I want to talk about a thing, I always like to start from the root. I like to start from the root of that thing. So we cannot just talk about counseling ethics without going to the background of counseling itself, without having to do a proper check of counseling itself. All right, so for the outline, we are going to be defining counseling. Counseling has a definition that is different from the normal layman's definition. We're going to be talking about the assumptions of counseling. Counseling has quite a number of assumptions, but I'm going to be dealing with a few in today's webinar session. So we're going to be talking about the definition of counseling, assumptions of counseling, and we're going to be talking about the characteristics of counseling. I bet you don't, some people don't even know that there are characteristics, in counseling. We're going to be looking at a few today, and I'm trusting that it would enable us to see, counseling just beyond counseling itself. What it's going to enable us to know that there is so much more to counseling than what it entails. And so we're going to be talking about the Hagen's 3 stages of helping model, in counseling. I feel this is important um, to be discussed so that we can be able to have enough knowledge, and this is for those who are not even into counseling per se. That was why I literally chose to go you know from the roots before we arrive at counseling ethics. So we're going to be talking about counseling ethics at number 5, and yeah, that's just going to be it. And I'm trusting that before we get to the ethics, you'll be able to have a proper understanding of counseling itself and what the ethics entails. Next slide, please. Thank you. Can we please move to the next slide? Thank you. All right. So, what is counseling? What is counseling? If I should ask you without, being in this webinar session, what is counseling? What is the first thing that comes to your mind? What is the first thing that comes to your mind? What is the first thing that comes to your mind? Anybody wants to try? Okay, I don't know if I'll be able to get responses here. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, so here in Africa, here in Nigeria, most people believe that counseling is advising a person. They believe that for those who are not fully certified, that they're just the normal, normal individual that is just, passing by. They literally feel that counseling is giving advice. Counseling is when somebody comes to you and says things like, "Oh, I'm down. Oh, I don't understand myself." And before you know it, they're already giving advices, unsolicited advice. They're telling the person, "Don't worry, you'll be fine." Mind you, if you're a counselor here, or a therapist, I would just love to quickly add that it's not right to tell someone who comes for a therapy session that they'll be fine. They know that they'll be fine, and they are not fine. That is why they've come for that session. So it is wrong as a therapist, very much wrong as a counselor or therapist, to tell your client you'll be fine. But for those that are not properly trained, for those who didn't go through the school of psychology and the likes and the training and the likes, they feel counseling is giving advice. Oh, sit down. Or is this what is happening to you? Oh, you'll be fine. It's just a feeling. It will go away. Sometimes those feelings don't go away. They don't go away except if such individual chooses to seek professional help. Now, in my slide, I wrote that there's a question here. It says, "What is counseling?" And now I wrote that counseling is a professional relationship that empowers diverse diverse individuals, families, and groups to accomplish mental health, wellness, and education and career goals. Now there's a keyword here. There's a keyword here, and I want us to pay attention to it. It says that to accomplish. Counseling has to do with accomplishing, to accomplish the mental health and the wellness. And my favorite word in all of this is to accomplish and wellness. And let me also add mental health. So to accomplish the right state of mental health, that is one of the things counseling does to us. And most times when we're having issues with our mental health, we are, having so much unwellness, in our soul or within ourselves, it is best to seek, help, counseling, to go for counseling, because in counseling, one of their major accomplish wellness, help to accomplish wellness, because if there is no wellness, there is no way you can get to accomplish the other things, the education, the career goals, and the likes. I would love to say that there was a particular time I had a professional exams to write, and around that period of time, I was battling with a lot of anxiety disorder. Anxiety disorder is a psychological disorder in psychology. And so I was battling with anxiety disorders. I would wake up in the morning and I would just begin to cry. I was studying extensively. I was giving my best, but it was looking like I wasn't studying enough. So I would literally wake up in the morning and begin to cry before I go to school. And so it continued like that over time. It continued like that over time. I didn't understand what it was at that time because I'd not really gotten into the field properly. So I was just wondering what it was. So it was when I came into psychology and I began to give myself to intensive reading, I was able to realize that what I was going through then was anxiety disorder. So if I knew what to do, I would have sought proper help. But and then I didn't really know what to do, so I couldn't really seek for help, and I just had to live with it. But now I'm fine because I have adequate knowledge. Okay, so next slide, please. Don't forget that this counseling is to accomplish mental health, wellness in education, and career goals. And so, please, the next slide. We're going to look at another definition. There is so much definitions that we have. So much definitions that we have. Okay, so here we have that. I wrote that counseling is a professional relationship between a trained counselor. There is a keyword there, a trained counselor. Now, if you remember, I said something while we were going through the first slide that there are some people here in Nigeria, in Africa to be precise, who are not trained counselors. And so when somebody walks up to them and tells them, "Oh, I have this. I'm feeling this way. I'm feeling that way," they give advice, and the advice is unsolicited because they are not trained. So they don't give proper um, help. They don't give proper advice. They don't give proper help to such person because they are not trained. It is only a trained psychologist that can help you as an individual to accomplish wellness in your mental health and in every other areas, right? Here. So counseling is the professional relationship between a trained counselor and a client. You cannot accomplish you cannot accomplish a thing if you're not trained in it. So you have to be trained. To be a counseling psychologist or a counselor, a therapist, you have to be trained. So it's important that you go through the school of psychology, you go through all of the degrees you need to go through so that you can be properly trained enough to help lives. And so it's a client designed to help the client to understand and clarify their views of their life space. Most of the reasons why people suffer with um you know mental illness or have or they have a lot of a little bit of deficiency in their mental state is because it gets to a stage where everything looks cluttered, right? Almost everything looks cluttered. They're not able to um they're not able to separate A from B, C from D. They become confused, right? And so when they're not able to clarify their views anymore, when they're not able to understand their life space, that is when they reach out to a counselor, a trained counselor. And that is when a trained counselor is able to give them the proper coping mechanisms or therapy that will enable them to get through that phase. So imagine if imagine a person, a patient, a client that ends up with a quack counselor or someone who is not properly trained. One of the things that would do to the person is that it would just literally demoralize the person's situation. So it's important that if you want to go into counseling, go through the process, ensure that you're properly trained and the likes, so that you can help your clients the best way that you ought to. Okay, so I'll take it again. It says counseling is a professional relationship between a trained counselor and a client designed, let's take that word designed to help the client to understand and clarify their views of their life space. and to learn to reach their self-determined goal through resolution of problems of an emotional or interpersonal nature. Yeah, so that's Box and Steph, 1978. And so, yeah, there is another definition here. Yes, 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 yeah. Counseling and psychotherapy are umbrella. Okay, there's a difference between counseling and psychotherapy. There's quite a little bit of difference. For me personally, I'm still in the field. I'm still in the school of psychology. So, but then I can say a little bit, for counseling and psychotherapy, I literally told a friend, a colleague of mine, that counseling has to do with just literally touching the surface of the problem. Like, all right, so okay, this is it. You do this and do that. But psychotherapy goes deep within. Like it has to. Psychotherapy goes deep within. Like it looks deep within the situation. Why, what led to this? Let's go to the background, let's go to the childhood, let's go deep within. It's deeper than counseling itself, but because we're dealing with counseling per se, we're going to just stick with that ideology, or with the topic that we have for today at hand, rather. Okay, so counseling and psychotherapy are umbrella terms that cover a range of talking therapies. So both has to do with talking, right? Both has to do with talking. Both has to do with talking. But has to do with talking. But then it now depends on the type of therapy technique that your counselor or your therapist chooses to bring into the equation. We have a lot of therapies. We have CBT, we have, it's a lot. CBT is my favorite, by the way. That's cognitive behavioral therapy. All right, so we have range of talking therapies, and they are delivered by trained practitioners. Trained practitioners. I love the fact that my slide keeps emphasizing on being trained, being trained. It's not that you have this session. If you're interested in psychology, please ensure that you go to the school of psychology. And that's why we have ASK right here to to educate us with enough knowledge so that it can be useful for us out there, right? And that's why I love ASK. Thank you, ASK, for this, for this platform. It's really, really, really an amazing one. All right, so yeah, so they are delivered by trained practitioners who work with people over a short or long term. So therapy can be short or long depending on how fast your client is responding to the mechanisms or the therapy techniques that you have put in place. It's really dependent on that. There are some um, therapies that take a long while. There's some therapies that take a long while. There's some therapies that take a short while. Like I said, depending on it's short or long, or enhance their well-being. So one of the things counseling does is that it enhances the well-being and the state of a person. It causes there to be about an effective change. And so so when next you're feeling down, or having a little bit of issues with your mental health, please reach out to a therapist. Don't just reach out to a person that is not really trained, because one of the things that reaching out to a counseling psychologist or a therapist does to you is that it helps to get to the root of the problem. It gets to the root of the problem, and it is in their place as a trained counselor to find out how they can bring about effective change and enhance the wellness of that person. But then if you expose yourself to someone who isn't trained, who isn't properly trained, one of the things you'll be doing is that you'll be adding to what you already experiencing as a person. So ensure that whoever you're going to be reaching out to in moments when you feel like, oh, you need mental health, or you're curious about certain things, please ensure that whoever you're going to be reaching out to of their life space and to learn to reach their self-determined goal through resolutions of problems of an emotional or interpersonal nature. Brooks and Steph, 1978. Second definition, in this slide is that counseling and psychotherapy are umbrella terms that cover a range of talking therapies. They are delivered by trained practitioners who work with people over a short or long term to help people bring about, I think it's supposed to be bring about, sorry, that to help people bring about effective change or enhance their well-being. British Association for Counseling and Psychotherapy website 2014. Can we please move to the next slide? Thank you. Next slide, please. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so what are the assumptions of counseling? Excuse me, please. So if you check the webinar topic outline for this session, you would see that I listed in the outline that we're going to be talking about the assumptions of counseling. So now, what are the assumptions of counseling? What are the assumptions? I like an interactive class. I love having interactive sessions. It's quite unfortunate I literally cannot see um people's comments or something. I would have loved to know what your assumptions as concerning counseling has been so far. Like when you hear counseling, what comes to your mind? Like what has been your assumptions so far? All right, so here are a few things or a few um, items listed in this particular subtitle concerning the assumptions of counseling. Now, the first one is that counseling can only happen if the client is seeking help and want it to happen. Okay, so counseling is not magic. Counseling is not magic. Okay, so I'm a counseling psychologist. Yeah, in the training process to be precise. And of recent, I had a client. Okay, so my clients are the conversations or the therapies I get to have with my clients are very much confidential. But I want to just literally share something that I was able to learn from it, and I was able to learn from it, and it got me laughing. Like I said earlier on, it also helped me to learn. Right, there are quite a number of persons that feel like counseling should happen like magic. Like when you just come to your office the first day, they want problems immediately. They want you to give them the therapy that really don't want to come by. When they come to and was requesting for help, so I took that case up immediately because I really just wanted to follow up with it and know why and why and what exactly happened. And so for me, for every counseling session, the first day for me is the bonding stage, right? The introductory stage and the bonding stage. I wanted to bond with my clients. I wanted she in quotes to just be free, introduce herself and just be free. And the second day we move to the exploratory and the like. But I realized that my client was very impatient, very impatient. She just wanted to talk about everything. I was shocked because I've had a number of clients over the past few months and a year now that I've been practicing as a counseling psychologist. And I was a little bit I was taken aback because I was like, oh my god, can you be patient, like but I did want to to tell my confidence, because it takes a lot for a person to reach out to a counselor and be ready to open up about what it is they are going through. So I didn't want to cut short on our confidence or on our boldness, and I just allowed her to. And I realized that on the first day, she was even the one telling me, can we move on now? Can we move on now? I was like, okay, my name is this from, I called my organization name and just wanted to talk. Now, there are people who just want to talk because for them, just wound that they are carrying within themselves rather. And then that first day, she told me everything, and I realized that when I scheduled the second session, because for every of my clients, I get to have like 4 sessions with them, and if it's something that requires much more sessions, I would request for permission from my team lead, and then we go ahead. But for this particular case, I scheduled second session. I already had sketched on that book the questions I was going to ask. I was just trying to connect the dots, because for me, it's all about helping people to heal from bloodless wounds. Like, counseling means a lot to me. And so when I scheduled the second session, I realized that my client wasn't willing. My client wasn't willing to go deep into the session anymore. But mind you, on the first day, she was the one even, you know, pacing me up that, man, I need to be fast. Like, she really wants to talk. And for me, I think she so counseling, it's a journey. And before you go on this counseling journey, you have to have made up your mind. You have to be prepared that you're willing to go through it with your counselor, because even your counselor gets to do a lot of work, a lot of work at the backstage. They get to do a lot of work because of what you're going through. They have to study extensively again. They've studied before, but they have to go and do more research, study more and more and more. So if you ever get to book a session with your counselor, please ensure you're doing a lot of work. You're doing a lot of work. So every counseling psychologist or therapist in this webinar session that is listening to me right now, I want to say kudos to you. You guys are doing a great work, and cheers to all of us right now. All right, so it's not something that would happen immediately. So don't ever expect an immediate change. It's a journey, it's a process. Enjoy it. Your counselor might take you back to your past, a lot of things, but it might be a painful experience, having to go through all of those memories again. But you just have to cooperate with your therapist, right? Believing that they're there to help you to become better and to put to effect the change that you solely desire. Okay, secondly, I said that, okay, person seeks counseling when problem in living which they can't resolve in everyday life. Okay, so the assumption that we have is that some certain persons seek counseling they have problems that when they have problems in living which they cannot resolve in their everyday life. Not everybody gets to go for counseling because they have problems that they cannot resolve. Like, there's some issues that as an individual you can get to resolve on your own, but there are some issues that or disorders that you cannot get to resolve on your own, right? So it's not only when the person has a problem that they cannot resolve that they get to meet a counselor. Like I said earlier, like that, my client needed someone to talk with. It's not like I want to assume that it's not that she couldn't or she has not been handling the situation for the past 10 years that it happened to her. But I feel at that point it just got so much into her and she felt like she just needed someone to talk to. So people don't always go to a therapist because they have problems they can't solve. Most people just want to talk. They want to talk about it. In fact, they are not even expecting you to give them any therapy or any coping mechanisms, or like they just want to talk about it. And that's why it's important. Okay, so I think I would love to talk about skills that the counseling psychologist should and must have, which is one, you must have a listening skill. Have a listening skill. As a counseling psychologist, you must have a listening skill. There are some counselors that I've met over time, and I tell you, I'm not impressed with their listening skills, because you cannot be talking as your client is talking, because they didn't come to you because they couldn't solve the problem. They came because They just want to talk about it, and they need someone to listen. The world is already a noisy place, and they just need someone to hear them out. So hear them out. That's why you're a trained counselor. That's why you're a trained therapist. Give them the listening ears that they desire or they deserve. And so they're not coming to you because they can't solve their problem. Like I'm emphasizing on right now. They're coming to you because they want to talk about it. So give them the honor of listening to them. Listen, just listen. And so the counseling fundamentally is based on conversation and talking things through. And if you remember, I said there's a difference between counseling and psychotherapy earlier on. So counseling is conversations, talking things through. Okay, what happened? How are you coping at the moment? How is it like at the moment? Okay, what changes are you looking towards to do? Cognitive behavioral therapy comes in mostly in this phase of counseling, like to help people to change their mindset, to help them to change their um intuitions concerning things and the like, to unstuck points that they already have inside of them due to PTSD and the likes. And so here, so it's fundamentally talking based on conversation and talking things through, things through. So it's also important to know that, excuse me, please. It's also important to know that. Okay, so I lost my point because I coughed. All right, so counseling is fundamentally based on conversation and talking things through. And also, the last but not the least, counseling depends on the creation of the relationship between the people. So as a counselor, okay, so people believe that counseling depends on the creation of the relationship between, the people. That, okay, um it's because I know this person, I just have to go and talk to them, or because counseling is about, it's. I feel like there's just so much in this particular point that if I begin to talk about it, like go deep into it, I'm just going to end up laughing, right? And so that's just what makes it. Number four, counseling depends. People assume that counseling depends on the creation of the relationship between the people. So if he or she is good, or they have a bond with them, right, they should go and talk to them. But I will say something very unique, very quite profound right now, and I believe that counseling is fun and it's much more productive, and it generates much more results when the person you are literally having that session with is a person that you've never met in your entire life. Never have a counseling session with someone that you know. And I'm very serious right now. If you really want to get the best of that session, if you really want to get the best of yourself, if you really want to get the result or the change that you're aiming for, never, don't try it. Don't go to a therapy session with someone that you already know. Like, your counselor doesn't have to be someone you know, right? So that's just it. This is the next slide. I hope I was able to make enough points on these assumptions of counseling. I hope I was able to make enough sense in it. Please, the next slide. Thank you. We have so much to talk about today. So much. I hope that slide notes a little bit. Okay, thank you. All right, so we have the characteristics of counseling. Excuse me. Characteristics of counseling. So I have like 4 points listed out here. Yeah, 4 point listed out. Yeah. Okay, so the first is encouragement and permission to speak. If you can see the picture beside this slide, you realize that the counselor that the therapist rather is paying attention to our client and jotting things down, right? So that's what your clients needs from you. They want you to listen to them. They want you to hear them out. And even as you jot things down, they want to be sure that you're paying attention to them, right? Good. So there is encouragement and permission to speak. The first day, and that is why I will continue to emphasize on the need for having that bond, for developing that bond with your client on the first day. I feel like I want my face to show so that if my viewers can see the seriousness in me right now. Okay, so all right, it's very hot here. Okay, all right. So encouragement and permission to speak. They must have that encouragement and permission to speak. You have to encourage your client to speak because there are times when yeah, I think it's best that my face doesn't even show because it's a lot here. Yeah, you have to encourage your client to speak. Encourage your client to speak because there are times whereby sometimes certain persons go for therapy and they find it hard to talk. They find it hard to talk. They find it hard to talk. They want to talk about it. But if they see that, but if you're able to build up a bond with them on the first session, it will enable them to want to open up. It will enable them to want to speak, right? Yeah, so you have to give them the permission to speak. Even as a counselor, as you're speaking to your client and you realize that, oh, they're about to say a thing, it's it's best that you hold on and give them that permission to speak. Don't keep talking when they give that sign or that nudging that they want to say something. The moment you see the nudge, the moment you see, the movement, the body movement of them want to say something, stop immediately and give them that permission to speak. Secondly, respect for differences. Respect for differences. We are not all the same, right? I want to believe that every single person right here in this session, we're from different states, we're from different countries, and the like. So when you're having a session with your clients, you need to respect their differences. You need to respect that you're not of the same cultural tribe. You're not of the same. You don't have the same cognitive capacity. Let me put it that way. So respect their differences. Respect their opinions. You can try to want to change it, as the therapy session goes by, but don't make it obvious that you're trying to change what their ideologies concerning things, right? Don't try to. All right. So the third one is confidentiality. Like I said earlier on, every single session that you get to have with your client has to be confidential. The reason why I shared the other one the other time was because I just wanted to buttress my point. I wanted to buttress the point that I listed out in that subtitle. So confidentiality is key. You want to help your clients to see that their details is safe with you, right? Right? Yeah. You want to help them to see that everything that they are getting to share with you is confidential, is within the four walls of your office. It's within the four walls of your office, and it's not going to be shared with anyone else. They get to, and that's where you just talk to about your through about your mental health, about your emotional imbalance and the likes. And before you know what's happening, they're already talking about it to someone else. They're already talking about it to your other colleagues. They're already talking about it to, and before you know it, the news is everywhere. And then before you know it, you can't even deal with the attention. People already start to give you and the likes. And so you have to you have to build trust rather with your client, but it doesn't happen like magic. It all starts from the first day, right? So confidentiality is key. They have to be comfortable enough to know that their secrets are safe with you. Everything is safe with you, and that way it triggers them to want to open up more. It triggers them to want to open up more. It triggers them to want to open up more, right? Yeah. Okay, so there's affirmation. Counselor enacts a relationship that is an expression of a set of core values. There's affirmation, you telling them that, especially when they share a story that seems to be to be tragic, and you're telling them that they're fine, they're doing well, and even when they're crying, and you're just telling them that they're doing well, and just helping them to see that they are doing well, like helping them to see that they can do better, they can open up better, they can feel free more better than they are already, and yeah, and the like. So affirmation is very key in the characteristics of the counseling session. So the first one is encouragement and permission to speak, respect for difference, confidentiality, and affirmation. Counselor enacts a relationship that is an expression of a set of core values. All right, so we have the Egan's models and its major types applicable to counseling. So the Egan model is a model used a lot in counseling psychology, where the object is to achieve lasting change and to empower people to manage their own problems more effectively and to develop unused opportunities more fully. So the three major models are exploration, challenging, and action. Yeah, exploration, challenging, and action. Exploration has to do with what is going on, and the building and building the helping relationship and exploration. Okay, it's like what I said earlier on, that after the first day, you move into, which is like the introductory stage, you move into the exploration stage, which has to do with you finding out what is going on, right? What is going on? You begin to dig deep into the problem and the situation of your client and the like, building the helping relationship, and also, in the process, you're exploring, possible um hints on, possible hints, and helping to connect the dots to help your clients become a better version of themselves. All right, challenging. What do I want instead? What do I want instead? New understanding and offering different perspective. So this challenging stage is like helping them to see what they want instead, because most people come to counseling believing that they already know what they want. So it's one of your core duties as a counselor to help them to see what they want instead, and helping them to have new understanding and offering different perspectives. You begin to give them strategies on how they can achieve those things, right? Yeah. So helping the clients to develop and use those helping strategies. So it's not enough for you to give your clients, strategies on how to go about things and the likes. It's also your core duty to help to create, a plan on how they can be able to develop and use those helping strategies. Thank you. Okay, so we are here. Counseling ethics. So most of us live by a certain set of values that guide our behavior and mark the difference between right and wrong. These values almost certainly influence how you approach your work as a counselor. However, when practicing counseling, working without a defined counseling code of ethics is 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 like a big sailing. There's some sort of error here. Okay, working without a defined counseling code of ethics is like a big sailing ship without using a compass. You might trust your intuitive sense of direction, but more often than not, you'll end up miles off course. Right? Yeah. Okay, so here's a few ethics we have in counseling.
Hello, ma'am. That is amazing. Viewers, now if you have any question regarding counseling ethics during therapy session, please type your question on comment section. Thank you. Viewers, if you have any question, please write down in the comment section. No question, viewers. Thank you for joining. Ma'am, your performance was marvelous. We are obliged to you for your marvelous presentation and giving us your precious time. This session will be effective for our audience because you shared your intelligible knowledge with us. Dear knowledge seekers, I would love to thank you all from my deep heart for attending today's session. Hopefully, you learned something new and you are going to implement it in your life. Please spread the information with your beautiful friends, knowledge seekers. You will get free certificate after 2 to 3 days. So please submit attendance form accurately and add your remarks regarding the webinar in comment section or attendance form. All members will get certificate via Drive link and link will share in your official Ask Webinar WhatsApp group. We hope to see you all again in next webinar. Thank you so much. Stay happy, stay safe. Miss Anuyeni Mary Lawal, there are some questions from people. The one is asking how important is informed consent in counseling.